Okay, ladies and gents, it's time for Rage in the Cage.
Finish him.
So strap in and join the fight in the comments below. Pick a side, Team Marq or Team J. Who will it be?
Rage in the Cage, baby! Best Steven Spielberg movie! What's your choice, people? Hashtag Team Marq, Team Alex, Team J. Team J all the way, by the way. So, Alex, I want you to lead the charge, man.
Okay.
Start this argument. We're all gonna take turns with our arguments. 3 rounds. You get 3 rounds. Your intro, your counter punch, and your close. So, Alex, go ahead. Why is Jaws Steven Spielberg's best movie?
Well, actually, just so I didn't forget my points, I have them written down.
Oh.
It has a shark in it. That's all I have written down.
Solid point.
That is the most solid, strongest opening argument I've ever heard on the history of NerdCage Live.
It's got a shark in.
Man,
yeah,
I'm done.
That's it.
Goes over. No, you know what? I'm gonna say this is the best Spielberg movie because of just how groundbreaking this movie was. Right? Everyone knows like this was the start of the summer blockbuster. It was a total shakeup in the film industry. This is the movie that put Spielberg on the map. Honestly, like he's had, there were successes before. You had Duel, you had Sugarland Express, but this was the movie that made him a household name, I think. And it's super inspiring because I think he was actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was actually my age that I am now when he made it. So super inspirational. And it's just like, it's a movie that's so ingrained in our culture, right? Like so many people, their fear of the beach, you go to the beach, you immediately think, oh, Jaws. You see, you think about sharks, right? Obviously it's an actual animal that exists in real life, but I feel like above all else, when you think of that, you think of Jaws. You hear the theme.
Yes.
It's been satirized in pretty much every form of media. It's just been, it's so iconic. And just everything about it that just screams pure classic, just so iconic. And honestly, I think with Jaws, it is my go-to example for a movie that's way better than the book. Where I really think it also just shows, I mean, first off, it's a great screenplay, but I think it really shows Spielberg's genius and just how great of a director he is to even have that insight to take these characters that I think a lot of the filmmakers even said, like, when they read the book, it's like, man, you want the shark to win, like screw all these guys. But they took those characters, and to this day, I will maintain that Martin Brody is one of my favorite, probably my favorite film character of all time. They took this such an unlikable character. The way the book opens, let me just say real quick, the way the book opens, Martin Brody has a dream about a girl half of his age, and he wakes up with a boner. Our hero. That's our hero, right?
It happens.
I don't know about that, but in the actual movie, super likable, super charming. It just, these characters, you are so mesmerized by them. Yeah. Right? And that a lot of that has to do with, one, a great screenplay, but it also has to do with Spielberg's directing. And I really think, it's just, it is pure Spielberg, and just, that's all I got to say. It has a shark in it.
Great opening argument. Yeah. Now listen, I want to get some of these people in the chat here, and I'm going to go second because couple weeks ago when we did our last Rage in the Cage, Marq was bitching that I was going last on purpose so I could deliver the death blows. So this time, I'm going to let Marq go last because that's how confident I am tonight. That being said, in the chat real quick, Wildband says Team Alex, so there you go. You already got one. Scott Banks says Team J all day. Thank you, my man. You're agreeing with me a lot today. I don't know. I mean, wow.
This is a fixed fight. It's rigged.
Off the Beaten podcast says, "Oh no, I feel like this is a fool's bet. Saving Private Ryan is all that." So there you go. So Mark, you got one there.
There you go, my man.
Paul Tackett says, "Minority Report was fun." Raiders of the Lost Ark had snakes. Shay Smithers says, "I hate to pick between these three, but I'm going with Team Alex." Paul Tackett says, The Last Crusade had Sean Connery, so I think he's saying that one was mine's not the best Indiana Jones movie. Fall One Gamer says nobody picked E.T.
No. I started to.
All right, Raiders of the Lost Ark. What is there to say, man? You know what? We're going to need a bigger boat because the best movie that Spielberg ever did was Raiders of the Lost Ark because he brought back the true adventure. Like, their adventure movies was like a thing of the past. Spielberg brought it back. What better character to go on an adventure with? Indiana Jones, the badass of all badasses, fucks on Han Solo. The best character that Harrison Ford ever played was Indiana Jones, man. Everything. The whip, the hat, guy playing the sword, shoots the man. The best intro of any movie. Breaking into the temple, stealing the Ark, and then the boulder coming down. Like, holy crap, man. As a 5-year-old kid and I'm seeing this happening on the TV, it was one of the coolest things I ever seen in my life. I want to be Indiana Jones. I want to go on adventures. I want to get the hat, the coat, and the whip. Like, holy smokes, man. This movie gives us everything. And it created such a beloved trilogy. Crystal Skull does not exist in my mind. One of the greatest trilogies ever. And, what else is there to say? It's the ultimate adventure with the ultimate badass by the ultimate director. And talk about groundbreaking special effects. The face melting. Oh man, just so much to love about Indiana Jones, and it's just and guess what? They're still making indie movies to this day. And when it's over said and done, when it's over said and done, God bless their souls, but everyone's going to remember Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones. Everyone's going to remember Steven Spielberg as the director of Raiders of the Lost Ark. I mean, he's done so many good stuff, but I feel like Raiders of the Lost Ark is it. And I think, again, even George Lucas having his hands on it, man. What else is there to say? Team J all the way. Mark, go ahead.
All right. So, I definitely respect both of your opinions on this. I agree. These are great movies, some of my favorite movies of all time. That said, what is not to love about Saving Private Ryan? I mean, where most of Spielberg's movies, including the two that you mentioned, are deeply rooted in something fantastic, something, extraordinary. This is rooted in something very real. World War II actually happened. We still, we have family members that remember it, that were part of it. And this really brings all of the horrors of that to life. Instead of glorifying it the way that other war movies had done before it, it actually shows you the heaviness, the weight of it, the fear involved with it. If you had to describe this movie in one word, it would be poignant. The emotional impact that this movie has zero fat on it. From the opening scene when they're on the skiffs going to Omaha Beach and you see the fear in everybody's eyes and the guys throwing up because they know that they're probably going to die on this beach.
It's a
when they get to the beach and you see the bullets just whizzing by everybody. You see the guy next to you, getting his head blown off. Another guy, a bullet bounces off his helmet. He takes his helmet off. Man, that was lucky. Boom, gets hit again. I mean, and this is what this is a 27-minute scene. It's 1/5 of the movie is that. And then it takes you from that to another emotion, and then another. There's no scene in that entire movie where you're not feeling what the main characters are feeling. And it really did an excellent job of bringing that to the forefront, what it would be like to be a soldier in World War II and to constantly have this fear of death and to be losing the people that are closest to you at any moment. I mean, I can't think of another war movie that even comes close to this one. And I think this transcends being Steven Spielberg's best. I do think it's his best, but I also think it is the best war movie of all time. And that is my opening score.
Woo! Man.
Jeez, man.
Marq is so bitter right now because I'm riding high in a lot of victories so far on Raising the Cage in 2021, and he was ready to take me out. It's nothing to do with you, Alex. He wants to take me out. He's reaching across the screen and trying to clock me hard.
You should have seen this. You should have seen me this week, man. I had like Creed-style montages, Creed-style training montages, getting ready for this moment.
Alex, you gotta counterpunch us, man. What do you got?
Well, okay. So, Jay, coming for you first. I will say, see, you know what? Like, in an argument like this, man, like, I feel like, first off, I don't argue. I'm a lover, not a fighter. You know, like what we had earlier, little splat with the Mortal Kombat thing, that was just me passionately explaining why you were wrong, you know?
That's why you're the ladies, man. I get it.
But, no, I feel like both of these are phenomenal choices, right? I feel the thing with Indiana Jones, though, is that, to me, like, I mean, that movie defined a generation, right?
Oh,
like, what a classic movie. To me, though, I almost forget sometimes for a split second that Spielberg directed it, just because it's so synonymous with both Spielberg and George Lucas.
Oh.
To me, because you have that split, it's kind of like a shared custody kind of thing where, yes, he did directed it, but it's like, I don't immediately associate it with Steven Spielberg, right? That, I think, would be like my number one argument for that.
Okay.
When it comes to Saving Private Ryan, dude, Marq, I just gotta say, man, like, that was so just eloquently put and just so, like, that seemed like that was, like, I know it wasn't, but that seemed rehearsed, man. Like, that was, like, that just, like,
that's how I really feel about the movie. I love this movie for real. Yeah.
Dude, that flowed, like, that was great, man. And, my argument with that, though, I would say is, while I wholeheartedly agree with literally everything you said, to me, I would also put that, have that be one of its disadvantages in this situation, where I feel like that's the type of movie where I feel like it's not as, no pun intended, because the nature of like a lot of these movies, but it's not as universal, right? It's not as universal because, you got to be in the right mood. That movie is so heavy, right? Given the subject matter, right? It's not a movie for everyone, whereas I feel like with the other ones, even Jaws, one factoid that people don't, they never believe me when I say this, but Jaws is rated PG, which you wouldn't think, but, yeah.
Really? This whole time I thought it was rated R.
Like, it is a hard PG.
Yeah.
Wow.
It is PG.
For 1975 too.
Yeah, that was actually before, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't think it was... PG-13 didn't exist yet. That's why.
It didn't exist.
PG-13 didn't exist until
Indiana Jones. It was Indiana Jones. I think maybe it might have been Temple of Doom. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think because of Temple of Doom, because people are so horrified about the heart rip, that they added PG-13 moving forward. So
I could
it was
be
just
wrong on that,
G, PG, and R for like the longest time.
Yeah, and Jaws, like, that's why I feel like, there's some messed up stuff in that movie, but it's a lot more universal. Whereas, the heavy subject matter of Saving Private Ryan, you need to be in the right mindset for that. Just like you need to be in the right mindset to watch the adult version, Shaving Ryan's Privates.
Which does exist, by the way.
No, not as heavy, but I'm not going to explain why I know what that is. But, that's kind of an inside joke.
Right.
But that, I think that would be my biggest argument. And also, just like personally speaking, I think maybe it would technically be the best war movie in terms of World War II movies. I'm gonna say I like my favorite is actually Inglourious Bastards when it comes to World War II movies.
Which is a good one. That's a
different genre, completely different thing. But that's my little jab right there.
Let me get some of these chats real quick.
All right.
Eon Lewis says all those whack ass sequels takes away from the original. Jay The lovely Cindy Lou Withers, thank you for coming in, by the way, and Paul Tackett both are saying Schindler's List.
Oh,
another good one.
That is a really good one.
You want to talk about a heavy movie, though?
Yeah, that was his first Oscar.
That's a heavy movie.
I think that was Spielberg's first Oscar, actually. And Paul Tackett also says PG-13 was E.T. Okay, so my counterpunch, man. Wow. So like, oh my gosh, man, because you guys both just came out with some good ones here. I'm just gonna say this right here that like, this again, I think Alex kind of touched on it before. My movie can be shown to like everybody, and no matter what mood you're in. So like, you can let the kids watch it. I mean, you gotta warn them about the face melting scenes and and stuff like that. But you know what? Kids can enjoy it. As an adult, I still enjoy it. Like, this movie does not have an age gap. This is a movie for everybody. And again, it's like I said, the ultimate adventure, the ultimate badass. And I just feel like the movies that you guys talk about, like Jaws, is so petrifying. Even at the time, people were afraid to go to beaches. Like, you can't show everybody the movie
true.
Jaws, and you definitely can't show everybody, Saving Private Ryan. I mean, it's really, really heavy subject matter.
It's bloody too.
Yeah, like, and so at the end of the day, like, if I'm gonna take, like, again, this is such a hard argument because when you're talking best Steven Spielberg movie, it's like the mafia coming in telling you, okay, which kid do you want to die first?
Yeah, Sophie's Choice.
This is one of those situations, man. But between these three movies, man, it's gotta be Raiders of the Lost Ark. So that's my counter. So there you go. Mark, floor is yours, man.
All right.
Do your counterpunch.
All right, so I'm not gonna tear down either movie because I love both those movies, and I can't be like, well, this wouldn't work and this wouldn't work because truthfully, in my opinion, there are no wrong answers here. But to defend my own movie, let's talk about the cast for a second, right? You got Tom Hanks, you got Tom Sizemore, you got Nathan Fillion, you got
Diesel.
Matt Damon. Well, and that's what I was leading up to. You got Vin Diesel, and Steven Spielberg got a good performance out of Vin Diesel. Like, name me one other director that has done that.
Brad Bird. With
What's that?
The Iron Giant, Brad Bird.
Okay, all right. Name me one other.
Oh, wait, I got one better. James Gunn.
Well, no, I don't agree because anybody could say I am Groot.
I know, I'm just messing.
Go
ahead.
But honestly, his role as Caparza, I actually felt him in that role. Like he actually performed. He emoted. That was easily his best performance, and Spielberg is the one that got that out of him. And that is, to me, that's all I need to say. Like, that's my second punch there.
Hey, I'm feeling those bruises, man. That was good. That was good.
Alex, floor is yours. Make your closing argument and why people in the chat need to pick Team Alex.
Why they need to pick Team Alex? I mean, aside from the fact that it has a shark, like, did I exhaust that already? The fact that there's a shark in this movie?
Explain.
Carcharodon carcarius, the great white. No, honestly, man, I feel like, man, the movie just speaks for itself, and this kind of sucks because it's totally like a Sophie's Choice thing where it's just like, man, I honestly don't care who wins because I mean these are all just great movies.
Great movies, yeah.
Yeah. I gotta be honest, man. I feel like with Jaws, I will say there was one point where it's not available on YouTube anymore. But back in 2012-ish, I want to say, I did a review of whenever Jaws first came on Blu-ray, right? I did a review of that. This is such a weird side tangent, but I have Jaws on literally every single format. It's 8 different formats.
Yeah, and the 4K just came out too.
The 4K came out recently, and I'm talking even formats some people never even heard of, CED video disc, which people are like, what is that? Right. And I did a video, showcasing a lot of this stuff. And one of the comments I will always remember was somebody who said, he was like, yeah, when it comes to Jaws, it's almost like there's this subliminal message in it where it's just it just whispers make movies because there are so many so many filmmakers that they can cite Jaws as the thing that wanted them, that sparked that interest, that sparked that love in filmmaking.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, right now we're talking about, if we're talking Steven Spielberg, I mean, like, just the fact that, like, a lot of people are able to say that. I mean, not saying that, you know, when it comes to your guys' movies, like, you know, you can see the same thing. But I feel like Jaws is like such a prime example of that. And it really, to me, it's just, it encompasses everything that is Steven Spielberg, everything that is, as snobby as this sounds, everything that is cinema, you know, is just encapsulated in that movie.
Mm-hmm. Very well said, man. Props to you, man. I love that closing argument. So my closing argument, I'm gonna be a little bit more passive than my counter, but I'm gonna close it out on this. The amount of influence that Raiders of the Lost Ark has had on pop culture. Okay, everybody on Earth not only knows who Indiana Jones is, but they know Indiana Jones the character, what drives him, what scares him, for example, everybody knows that he hates snakes. Everybody knows what he does, you know, going on these adventures, being the professor, and, you know, everything that he does. What he does in certain situations, like, again, I talk about the guy with the dueling swords, and he just shoots the guy. He doesn't want to waste time. Like, everybody knows the character. In any situation, people can think to themselves, well, what would Indiana Jones do in this situation? They already know. The character is that ingrained into pop culture. Like, rather if you watch, like, The Simpsons and, like, Bart stealing the, you know, the jar of money from Homer's bedroom, and they parodied Indiana Jones, and, like just look at the impact on pop culture. Where it's how many times it's been, like, parodied or, like, referenced. Like, Indiana Jones, it's probably, like, the most referenced, you know, piece of cinema, like, ever. And, like, it's just, like I said, it's just, there's no other, like, I can't imagine, like, a world without Indiana Jones. Like, if you Thanos snapped this movie out of existence, what would our pop culture be like? He's such an important character to society, to pop culture. We find ourselves a little piece of, I mean, you guys got a little bit of an adventure, and, you know, like, everybody, Indiana Jones lives inside, like, all of us. We all want to be him. We all want, like, he's that important of a character. So at the end of the day, not only Raiders of the Lost Ark is one of the best adventure movies of all time, but Indiana Jones is the most memorable movie character, the most memorable hero ever. And that's why women love Indiana Jones, men love Indiana Jones. And come on, he's had, like, one of the best sidekicks ever in Short Rounds, even though it's the prequel. But I'm just saying, Raiders of the Lost Ark is the ultimate adventure, the ultimate movie, the ultimate Spielberg movie. It's his best work, and that's my closing argument.
All right. And I guess it's down to me, so I'm just going to say this again. Steven Spielberg's crowning achievement is Saving Private Ryan. It is not only a masterpiece in that genre, but it is a masterpiece overall. One of the greatest films ever made. It has everything that you could possibly want in a film. It has action, it has drama, it has intense suspense, it has comedy when it needs, you know, it has humor when it needs to have humor, and it's all perfectly interwoven into each other. The script is perfect, the cast is perfect, all of their performances, all of the technical directing, all of the color grading, everything that you could possibly nitpick about this movie. It's just an absolute it's an absolute treasure. Anybody who hasn't seen it, if you're anybody that's watching right now that has not seen that, drop everything that you're doing and watch this movie. I mean, it is incredible. It's one of my favorite movies, and I honestly think, and AFI agrees. I think it's like number 10 on AFI's top 100 films of all time. In my opinion, it should be number 1.
Wow.
Fair, man.
There's one thing I'm surprised you didn't mention.
What's that?
Oscar.
Yeah.
Academy Award.
Yeah, could have, yeah.
I'm surprised you. I was just like, oh man, because that's the one thing I don't got.
Right.
I mean, like I said, I never. It's not, you know. Actually, I think it might have, like, I think as far as, like, score goes, I think it might have, but I don't think the movie
for
itself.
John Williams. Yeah.
That's another thing I was gonna say. Like, I mean, yeah, Joss got a theme song, but man. Da, 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 like, come on, man, it's just gives me the feels every time.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
But yeah, so everybody in the chat, like, you know, what's your favorite Spielberg movie? And if you had to pick between these three, Team J, Team Mark, Team Alex, who do you got?
I saw a lot of ETs in the chat.
I did see a lot of ETs.
I mean, like I said, it's so hard to pick, and that's why I was like ready to I was like chomping at the bit for this Rage in the Cage, because I knew everybody in the chat would go bananas over this topic, because everybody has got a Steven Spielberg movie that they identify with. So
yeah, I mean, you know, can we at least agree that he's like one of the greatest directors of all time? Like,
if not the best. I mean, when it's over said and done, like. I mean, like, you know, he's one of mine. I mean, my personal favorite is Quentin Tarantino, but from the outside looking in, if I take my bias out of it, I just think, like, how can you argue against Spielberg of everything he's accomplished? Like, every decade, like, just when you think he might fall off, he brings us another great spectacle or another great Oscar-winning film. Like, the guy just, he never runs out. He never ceases to amaze me that he keeps going and going and going. Decades. Even in this decade, like, I'm like, what is he going to do next?
Right.
So, yeah, like when it's over said and done, the argument's there. He might be the GOAT director for real.
Yeah, like, he's definitely in the conversation.
No, 100%. And like, I feel like the way that I look at it is like, you don't need like another millennial to tell you like how great he is. You know, like it kind of speaks for itself. But I gotta be honest, man. Like, I feel like you could have like rotated this. Like, if I had to argue, like, would have been hard to argue against Jaws. But if you told me, argue for Saving Private Ryan or for Raiders of the Lost Ark, like, I'd be happy to do it.
Right.
You know, even like or Jurassic Park, like literally like any of them. You know, so
Duel even.
Yeah, or Duel.
First movie, yeah.
And look at that, Paul Tackett says Team Mark. He says E.T. was fluff. Close Encounters of the Third Kind was better. Ian Lewis says Close Encounters is my favorite. Team Mark.
That's a good one.
And then again, Shay Smithers is reiterating Team Alex. But he says, but now Jay maybe really want to rewatch Raiders of the Lost Ark and possibly change my mind. So
no, it's locked in. He says Team Alex.
The only thing I have against Jaws is that it kept Spielberg from directing Superman. He was like in the running to direct that, and his fee was low enough at the time. But then after Jaws became a huge hit, his director's fee went up, and the Salkinds didn't want to pay it, and that's the only reason why they didn't go with him. But I think about that all the time, like how awesome a movie would we have gotten?
That would have been great.
With Spielberg at the helm.
And I wouldn't say like it's an argument against Jaws per se, but I do blame Jaws for those crappy sequels and Sharknadoes and your Mega Sharks and Sharknadoes and stuff like that. Like, that's the only thing I blame Jaws. I mean, you can also make that argument. Well, that's how big of an influence Jaws is.
That's the impact, right?
The impact, yeah. But at the same time, like, I didn't want any all that crap. And you know what? You can also credit Jaws for Shark Week.
Right.
That too. Like, personally, I will say that, like, it is my favorite movie of all time. Not just favorite Spielberg movie. It's my number one favorite movie of all time.
That's why I wanted to do this.
I will say
that you were primed for this Rage in the Cage. You know what? The beauty about this whole Rage in the Cage thing is we could very well do this again with different Steven Spielberg movies. Like, we could go in again with with the same guests or different guests and pick more Spielberg movies to argue amongst us. Like, that's the beauty. I love some of these rages because, like, we can probably easily bring them back. That being said, guys, let's bring it to the floor for a little bit here. And
ooh, trying to get out of the NerdCage, are ya? Well, before you go, hit that subscribe button. And if you're really intrigued, ring that bell. Thank you for dropping by. Until next time, tell everyone you know about NerdCage Live!